Y'all already know that I am very, very crazy, but even me as a crazy person, I have continued to say, nah, Ravens, they couldn't get Myles Garrett. They wouldn't go for Myles Garrett. But now this, like, even though I know it would still highly be unlikely, I get that and understand it, and I know all of y'all do too. I still think this helps the Ravens just a bit. Not no crazy amount or anything like that. But with Myles Garrett actually be the one to request a trade officially, because we heard stuff before, maybe Myles Garrett, he might want out of Cleveland, possibly. Maybe Myles Garrett, since he said he don't want to be part of a rebuilding process no more, maybe he might want to leave. We heard that, but now with this making it official that he actually wants out, he put it out there publicly, I feel like that changes things for the Ravens just a bit, just a tiny bit. And we're going to get into it. Before we do, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on so you don't miss a single thing with our favorite football team. And also leave a like on the video. Now, no matter how delusional you think I am, no matter how delusional I think I am, leave a like on the video. I love y'all, team. Keep it clean. Now, let's read this statement from Myles Garrett. He said, as a kid dreaming of the NFL, all I focused on was the ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl. And that goal fuels me today more than ever. My love for the community of Northeast Ohio and the incredible fan base of the Cleveland Browns has made this one of the toughest decisions of my life. These past 8 years have shaped me into the man that I am today. But what's he talking about? What's Myles Garrett getting at? What's he saying? Well, let's read the next paragraph to see. It says, while I loved, past tense, loved, L-O-V-E-D, past tense, while I loved calling this city my home, my desire to win and compete on the biggest stages won't allow me to be complacent. So he basically saying, I'm tired of losing. Anyway, continuing. He says, the goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton. It has always been to compete and win a Super Bowl. So Myles Garrett saying, look, I done achieved all my regular season stats. I may be a Hall of Famer, and that's cool, but that's not what I got into the game for. That's not what I'm playing for. I'm not playing to go from playing for the Cleveland Browns to end up being a Hall of Famer. That's cool, but I want more. I want better. And he said, with that in mind, I have requested to be traded from the Cleveland Browns. Ooh, I love it. I love it. Now, it's one thing, like if somebody like a high-profile player was requesting to be traded from the Cincinnati Bengals, that'd be nice. It'd be like, okay, Bengals, okay, you getting down worse. If somebody had been asking to leave the Buffalo Bills, because they did hurt my heart this year, that would be really, really nice, too. If there was a high-profile player being like, I don't want to be a Kansas City Chiefs no more, but nobody's saying that about the Chiefs at all. But that would be nice, too. But with this coming from the Browns, even though they already been down in the dumps, I don't mind them staying down in the dumps. But with the Baltimore Ravens, again, I know for some it may sound far-fetched. We have seen in division trades before, and we've seen that's the thing. We've seen them at quarterback position. Not saying us, the Ravens, but we've seen it happen at the quarterback position with different teams where they make in-division trades, even in conference trades. Whether AFC, whether NFC. And I know, like, for Ravens to acquire somebody like that, it would take a lot. It would take more than a lot. But it's Myles Garrett. So you would expect it to take a lot. And we've been talking about, it for years, but certainly this offseason, so many people have, what is Baltimore Ravens' biggest need? And while edge rusher may not be their biggest need, because that offensive line looking like it's going to be remixed for the third year in a row. But we've been talking about how the Baltimore Ravens, they just need somebody who can be a consistent playmaker on the edge. We got Odafe Wade. He had a pretty good season this year. We got Super Duper Kyle 2.0. He had a pretty good season this year. Both of those guys, they came through for the Baltimore Ravens. Myles Garrett is something that's different, man. And it ain't no disrespect to either one of those two guys because they did their thing this year. But Myles Garrett, when you talk about consistency, and Calvin Noah, I mean, his time as a Baltimore Raven, it ain't nothing but consistent. Because what he had 2 years ago, 9.5 sacks, and this year he had, I think, 12? So, hey, obviously he's doing his thing. Myles Garrett is just different, man. And with a Myles Garrett, you ain't gotta move off of one of those two. Even though when you think about it, they probably would. Like, because, and again, just obviously I'm just spitballing right here. But if the Baltimore Ravens were to acquire somebody like a Myles Garrett, I don't think that they would keep Odafe. They would have to give up some of significance in return to the Cleveland Browns, along with draft picks and whatever. You got 11 of them. You got 11 of them. And when you think about this too, some of the premier positions for the Baltimore Ravens, obviously they got their quarterback. Obviously they got their running back. They got their receivers. They're not going to use no first round pick on no receiver, even a second round pick on a receiver, anything like that. So with receivers, you probably more so looking for that third and fourth receiver roles. So that's not going to be the premium money. It's not going to be premium draft picks the way that the Baltimore Ravens would operate at those positions. Your tight end situation, that's taken care of. Your inside linebackers, some of your outside linebackers, you could obviously add some help there, but that's taken care of. When you think about your defensive line, you got Matabike, you got Travis Jones. Obviously you can add there, but that's taken care of for the most part. Then we talked about edge already. You think about cornerbacks. You got Nate Wiggins, you got Marlon Humphrey. We'll see what happens with TJ Tampa if he can stay healthy, but you're obviously going to add somebody there. You could add a veteran. You got a lot of options. You could bring back Tre'Davious White. You could bring back Brandon. I'm just playing, y'all. I'm just playing. Relax. But anyway, so you're going to do something there at the cornerback position. But then there's safety. You got Super Duper Kyle. You got Ardarius Washington. You're probably going to add a safety there too. Obviously, whether it's a veteran or a rookie, probably a veteran, because you're going to have somebody who comes in and plays a decent amount of snaps, maybe like a million, not a million snaps. But my point was saying all that is the Ravens, while they do need to retool, they don't need to rebuild this team. They have a lot of their key people in place already. The biggest holes right now, the biggest question marks, left tackle. Ronnie Stanley probably not probably going to leave, but we'll see what happens there. So Ronnie Stanley is an unknown. At left guard, Pat McCary, he's an unknown. Well, hold up. Was he the left guard or the right guard last year? Last season was a blur for me now. Because Linderbaum was at center. At right tackle's Roger Rosengarten. At right guard, was it Pat McCary? No, right guard was Falele. There we go. It was Falele. Okay, there we go. So yeah, he was a left guard. So your left tackle and left guard, those are question marks right now. Big question marks or question marks. I think more than likely Pat McCary is going to leave, but hey, we'll see. Ronnie Stanley, no clue. But really, we have no clue on anything right now. So with you, and then you may end up also needing a kicker too. So that's not a first round pick or a second. That could maybe be third round, fourth, depending on who's out there, or free eight. We'll see. But my point is the Baltimore Ravens, they have so much of their guys in place already, and that are going to be here for the foreseeable future, obviously in 2025. So if you gave up draft picks and even a player, I would expect it. If this happened, I would expect it to be both, because especially with it being not only in conference team, but an in division rival. Because it will take a lot. It will take a lot extra. Like, it will take extra for the Baltimore Ravens to acquire somebody like Myles Garrett. It will take a lot more for them than it would for somebody else. Obviously, it would take way less for somebody from the NFC to get him, because they're not even in the same conference. So they're going to see Myles Garrett for just a limited amount of time. But in the division, oh boy, yeah, you would have to send a good amount. But who would you be getting back? What kind of player would you be getting back? Oh, this is Myles Garrett, man. Ravens fan, we know all about Myles Garrett. Go against him at least 2 times a year. That boy is like that, man. We know that, man. And we've been just missing like that dominant defensive end, that dominant edge guy for the longest. This would be the answer to so much of the Baltimore Ravens issues on defense. And but their defense last year, after they made those changes, they were pretty good. They were pretty good. But one place, we make changes on the Baltimore Ravens defense, our linebacker play, it improves. Cool. We make changes on the defense, our secondary, giving up the big plays, that improves too. But something that still was a bit up and down throughout really the past couple seasons. Even though, hey, we got a lot of sack production from our guys 2 years ago, and even this year we did too. But for me, and let me know if y'all see it differently. It's weird because the Ravens, they'll have a good amount of sacks, and especially in the playoffs, I think that's where a lot changes in the playoffs. That's where things get a little like it's wonky almost. Because we'll have a good amount of, and even in the regular season too, I feel like the pass rush, it can be like up and down. And not that you're going to be generating pressure every single drive. I don't expect that, but there's sometimes when the pass rush, it just gets missing. It gets missing, and it's like, hey, what happened? But especially the playoffs, man. Like, we look at the game against the Steelers. I think Ravens got a couple of sacks in that game. Then you look at the game against the Bills, it was MIA. Could not even look at Josh Allen, man. Couldn't do nothing. And even you look at the teams who are in the Super Bowl right now, and especially the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles, their offensive line, it's brutal in a good way. They nasty in a great way. Their defensive line is insane. It's not fair. It's a cheat code. It's crazy. But you ain't even got to look that far to even appreciate defensive lines, and especially to appreciate edge guys. You look right here in the division. Pittsburgh Steelers. TJ Watt. That poor filthy. TJ Watt is nasty. A game wrecker. He is very dominant when he's healthy, of course. He is amazing. You know that. Trey Hendrickson. He was doing this thing over there in New Orleans. I don't really want to talk about New Orleans right now. They got a lot going on. But, I mean, Ravens got on. Anyway, Trey Hendrickson was doing this thing over there in New Orleans. Then came to the Bengals, still killing it. Just keep leading the league in sacks over and over, just killing it, doing his thing, going crazy with it every year. Dominant. Then the Cleveland Browns, they got Myles Garrett. Dominant. Putting up numbers, defensive player, it's all type of stuff. Man, it's like that. Then you look at the Ravens like, who's that guy? Who's the Ravens guy? Who's that dominant edge rusher? Who? Well, now we don't have some good guys now, but ever since Terrell Suggs has been gone, we ain't had it. So, this, again, I know is highly unlikely, but it's not impossible. Now, just for a bit of more context and more detailed context with this whole Myles Garrett thing, Adam Schefter he reported this. He said a potential trade comp. He said when 27-year-old Khalil Mack was traded from Oakland, so the Raiders, to Chicago, so to the Bears, so from AFC to NFC, said the Bears gave up 2 first-round picks. So, not even just that. The Bears gave up 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and a 6th-round pick, and a 2nd-round pick, and a conditional 5th-round pick for Khalil Mack. Oof. So, and that was from outside of the conference, excuse me. Obviously outside the division, but outside the conference. So when you look at that, they get 2 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, a 6th-round pick, a 2nd-round pick, and a conditional. Ooh, that's a lot. That's a whole lot. That's some significant stuff right there. But and obviously, if it's in the division, then you would have to give up some more significance than that. But the way that I'm looking at it, and again, y'all let me know if I'm being too delusional. You either got to go big or go home, man. Because what are you gonna do at edge? Like, hey, if Max Crosby's still there too, and Max Crosby, I don't think you want to be with the Raiders. Hey, that's you got options. So you ain't got to just be, hey, Myles Garrett or bust. But I do think, and we've talked about this too, like for the Baltimore Ravens, I think it would be very, very nice if they really addressed that position because it could do wonders for their team. Now, will we expect a team like the Ravens to give up 2 first-round picks, 2nd-round pick, 3rd-round pick, conditional? What? That's not like them. It's really not. That's not their style. That's not on brand for them. That's not on par for them. But sometimes you just gotta jump out there, man. Sometimes you just gotta try it. You just gotta try some things and hey, see how it goes for you. But again, this is a reminder too, and I'm glad that Adam Schefter reported this. this is a reminder that, hey, Myles Garrett, he ain't the only guy that's out there, and that's possibly available too. Throughout this regular season, last regular season, we had a lot of conversations about the Ravens at edge, what they should do, if they should make a trade before the deadline and whatnot. And we had a lot of conversations about what would be our dream scenario. So many Ravens fans say, oh, Max Crosby. And I agree. Max Crosby would be amazing because he is everything that you want in a player. Not just a defensive player, not just an edge, but a player. Because he goes out there, he balls, he's very disruptive in the run game. Pass rusher, obviously, he is just a crazy disruptive player. But then people talk about Myles Garrett too. And we talked about how, it would be lovely, but Browns wouldn't do that unless, and we said unless, and you can go back to the videos and see, but we said unless the Ravens, they would have to give up everything, like a whole lot, to even have the Browns stay on the phone for a conversation like that. They would have to give up everything. Now, something else to keep in mind, because we've seen this before. We saw it ourselves with Lamar Jackson. We've seen when a public trade request comes out from a franchise player on the team. We saw when Lamar Jackson, he put up those tweets right when John Harbaugh was having a press conference, right when it started. He put up those tweets that said, we couldn't come to a contract agreement with the Ravens. I'm requesting a trade. We saw that, and it was like, I remember being so sad. I was like, oh, no, please, no, Lamar, no, please, no. But obviously, the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson, they ended up coming to an agreement, which was, thank you. But so with this Myles Garrett, with him publicly requesting a trade, he did say some powerful words in there. He ain't say like, oh, look, I'm just requesting a trade because we couldn't come to a contract agreement. No, he said, I'm tired of losing, pretty much. He said that without exactly saying it, but he pretty much said that. I'm tired of losing. He said, I ain't trying to go from Cleveland to Canton. So he said, I ain't just trying to play and get these numbers and then go to the Hall of Fame. No, he said, I'm trying to play for a Super Bowl. I want to be competitive. That's Baltimore Ravens. That's their favorite word right there. Competitive. So why not? A team keep it clean, and all my delusional people. I know it's just a small section of us that could be delusional, but hey, I'm proud to lead that group. But I love y'all. But we don't reach my favorite part of these videos where we get to feature your questions. If you would like to take part in it, you can send an email to teamkeepitclean@gmail.com, or for the Team Keep It Clean patrons, you can send your question in a DM directly on Patreon. If you would like to join them, you can go to patreon.com/Ingravenvids. I love y'all so much. I appreciate y'all. First question came from a patron, my guy, Sevun. He said, hey, Ingraven, hope all is well with the family and the rest of Flock Nation. I love that name, too. I love that name, Sevun. So that's so cool, man. He said, with the signing of Chuck Pagano and another year of Zach Orr, I think the secondary will be lights out. And that statement right there, that's not delusion. I think that is a fair statement, because you saw what they did last year after the turnaround, obviously, and they were on it. They were really on it, and they're gonna have a lot of those guys back. With Kyle Hamilton, I think that's a big X factor. Let's see how they play him. We got a while to see that, but we'll see how they play him, like what type of safety they'll have him be. If they continue to do what they did with him last year, where they really just had him more of a traditional safety, but he did step into the box some too. They had him sort of in that, not necessarily Troy Polamalu role, but kind of to where, he'll drop back, but sometimes he'll come blitz and whatnot. He'll be in the box. So they moved him around. So sort of like a Troy Polamalu, not exactly, but sort of like that. But we'll see what they do. He said, I think the focus this year will be takeaways. Boom. And that would be a great focus. You add Myles Garrett and Max Crosby to that. Anyway, he said, I think the focus this year will be takeaways, which is something the Ravens have been lacking for years now. I don't think 2 years of 2023, no. They were pretty good at takeaways. This year, though, I think so, yeah. This year, it was a big drop-off. There were some missed opportunities. So a lot of times they will be out of position. But it was a big drop-off this year, I would say. He said, what do you think the Ravens will do to increase production there? I think with Chuck Pagano, just his knowledge and experience with the previous Baltimore Ravens when he was here in from 2008 to 2011, because he left in 2012 to go draft Andrew Luck and coach him. So I think that that experience and his knowledge, just bringing on another set of eyes for the defense and just looking for another way that they can improve. I think that can help that takeaways department a lot.